arenas. So, there's team personnel, but there are also VIPs.
Yes.
Owners, their families, coaches' families, players' families, ball boys.
Yep.
I mean, the amount of people that can be affected by this
camera
is
operators.
massive.
I mean, just think about
people that work
behind
exactly.
the scenes that people don't see, that we get a chance to see when we show up because we come through that VIP entrance. So just think about all those people that interact and see the players when they get off the bus, the guys that greet the bus when they come, the bus drivers. They drive the bus and all the players every game. So everyone that's connected to the NBA or connected to those games, there's so many different people that we don't think about. We think about the players first, but then those is connected all the way down to the average man.
I mentioned it earlier, the basketball ecosystem for the NBA is humongous. You're talking about the hotels teams stay at and the staffs at those hotels, and the fact that other teams
stay in most hotels.
The same hotel.
Yes, great call, Sekou.
There's a lot that goes into this that you mentioned, 3D, that I don't think the public gets to see. So that's why this is going to require some huge undertaking from the league just to make sure they cover all of these bases in terms of inspecting what this virus can do and how massive the spread can be. Because I'm thinking about it. 3D, you mentioned All-Star Weekend was not that long ago. That's when the entire NBA community converges on one spot. And if it takes 14 days to quarantine, that means we don't know when a person could have contracted this. Right. Up to the point when when you test and it tests positive. I mean, all of that has to be going through your mind right now if you're the people in charge of, leading us through this.
Well, and the league is so incredibly interconnected. You just think of a slice of a season like a week and how many teams travel around the country from city to city and the interactions on the court, and they go to another city. And so it's easy to see how this could easily spread. Mavericks just defeated the Denver Nuggets in what turned out to be the final game of the night. Dallas won at 113-97, and Rick Carlisle, like so many coaches tonight, learned of what has happened and the hiatus that the league is under for the moment, and here's his reaction.
I'll give you a couple things that I've learned through the commissioner's office. I spoke to Kathy Behrens a few minutes ago, and basically we've been informed that the season 4, right now, games have been suspended. This is because of just the league being concerned about the health of fans, players, and arena personnel. There's going to be more meetings and more talk tomorrow about what the next steps are. There's no timetable, and that's what we know for right now. As far as the game, this is one of the best regular season wins I've ever been a part of. You're talking about, mid-March, down a bunch of guys step up that really haven't been playing very much. Marjanovic was spectacular. Barea was great. Willie Cauley-Stein, missed a couple days because he wasn't feeling well. He's back in there. He contributed in a big way. Doncic was phenomenal. Hardaway, and the bench was into it the whole night. So real proud of our guys. After last night, which was really disappointing in San Antonio, we, stayed together, came out, and the guys fought their butts off and earned a very important win. I'll take questions if anybody has any.
Rick, the announcement that the season was suspended was made, I think, right at the end of halftime or early third quarter. When did you get word of that, and how did you guys?
I got word during the third quarter. And so that certainly was good information to have, for this game. We played guys longer than we probably would have otherwise, but it's a game we wanted to get. It's a game our guys really wanted to get. And so they fought to get it. And once again, I can't say enough about Boban and how he hung in there from start to finish. DeLon Wright made some great defensive plays. He hit a huge three. His activity was a big part of the win as well.
COVID-19 obviously has an incubation period, and Rudy is an NBA player who has played other NBA teams and so on. Is there thought processes to testing the players on this team, or being extra?
You're asking questions that are beyond anything that I've been told. I'm sure that the league is doing a very deep dive into the appropriate next steps, and we'll just wait to hear and see what those are. We're off tomorrow anyway, and so that's what I know.
Rick, what can you say about Courtney Lee's contribution to not only this game but also just this season in general?
I love Lee, and he's a guy that's been. When he came in the trade last February, if you'd have tried to find Vegas odds on him being here beyond this trade deadline this year, the odds would have been very long that he would be here. But he's established himself as a guy that is a hell of an NBA player. He's a great leader in the locker room. He's a mentor to our young guys, everyone, from Luka to KP, to our other younger guys, Brunson, et cetera. And, he's earned the right to be on this team this year, and he's gained everyone's respect.
Rick, it's obviously still early on in this unique situation, but stepping out onto the court is like a sanctuary for you and your players. What are you kind of telling them now that the season is kind of suspended for the moment?
Well, there really hasn't been much time to get into a lot of stuff. But we've laid down the basics as we know them. Everyone is to stay in town. That's one thing we told our guys. And games are suspended, team activities are not. And so, but we're off tomorrow. I absolutely believe we'll have more information tomorrow, and we may be able to share some of it Friday, or perhaps there may be more announcements, perhaps not, not sure.
Rick, could you reframe to this group that conversation you talked about over the weekend that your wife and you had about knowledge and her job?
Somebody asked me about it three nights ago. So I told them, it's good to be married to an infectious disease doc, because there is a lot to know, and there are some things that are important that people are assuming that may not necessarily be true, and that's why we all need to keep our ears open and make sure we're hearing correct information from correct people.
Rick, did you have any concerns about playing this game, period, but especially finishing the game in a packed arena given the circumstances?
I did not. No. And that's, you're asking my feeling, my opinion. That was my opinion. We had a great turnout tonight, for a Wednesday night game, early start. And so, we'll see where it goes from here.
Team activities, do you suspect there will be practice sessions, or are you allowed to do that, or any of the
relating what's been related to me. Games are large gatherings in big buildings, and this has got to be sorted through and figured out appropriately.
What kind of thoughts were
Say what?
What kind of thoughts were going through your head when you figured out the news about the games?
When I figured
Rick Carlisle's experience of learning about the suspension of games moving forward tonight during the Mavericks win in Dallas tonight. And you see what's happening in Sacramento. The game between the Pelicans and the Kings, the last scheduled tip-off of the night, has also been postponed, and so folks are making their way out of the arena there in Sacramento. And who knows when we will next see NBA fans return to an arena for NBA basketball. Here's Trey Young tonight.
Yeah, obviously we didn't really talk, anything about the game or how it ended or whatever, but it was more about, the next steps for us, about moving forward and what we're going to do and what we need to do in order to stay safe and just try to stay away from getting this as possible. So, it was more about just how we can be more cautious about it.
And I know you guys as players coming to the arena tonight knew that there was a possibility of this. Again, nothing was set in stone, but the possibility that this could be the last game for a while.
Yeah, we kind of knew it. For us, we didn't know about all the details until literally 30 minutes before the game. And for us to be hit with that right before the game, for us to have that on our mind, maybe tonight it was just more about thinking about what's the next steps for us. So we were obviously a little slow to start and things like that, but we were just, to be honest, we were just trying to figure out what was the next steps.
For you personally, I think about, man, you've got a weird connection with the Knicks for me. First of all, your first pro game is at the Garden against a historic team and stuff. And then for things to be tonight. You're playing in a game where our side is down 20 points. With 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the contest, you scored 27 points in the fourth quarter, man, to get us to overtime.
Yeah, no, for me, someone that told me it was our last game for right now, and I'm not going to have fans, probably the rest of the season anyway. So for me, I wanted to go out, play, relax, try to put on a show for the fans, and just try to have fun. If we lose, we lose. If we win, we win, but I was going to go down fighting and playing hard and putting on the show.
Your points are always going to steal the headlines and the flair that you play, but I think to the first quarter of this game, where you set for a good part, and Jeff Teague is out there playing, and because we're here in the arena or I can watch the bench, there's nobody cheering on Jeff Teague bigger from our sideline than you.
Yeah, for sure. That's for me, that's how you, take control of your teammates. Being a leader, you got to be able to, cheer on your teammates, be the biggest fan for your teammates, and then also, because you know it's going to come back to you.
Right.
And whenever you're on the court, whenever you're making plays, they're my biggest fans. So I'm always pulling for my teammates, especially for Jeff.
Final question for you. We get Vince Carter going there at the very end. Obviously, the crowd's chanting for him. What was it like for you to see him make that three-pointer?
It was awesome. I told him whenever he got the ball at the end, once he got subbed in to shoot it, I told Julius to let him go and let him get this shot off. And for me, I was excited to see it go in. It's going to be pretty cool. If this is the last game for him, for me to be able to say I gave Vince Carter's last assist, or his last bucket, so that would be pretty cool.
Thanks, Trey.
Thank you.
Trey Young, who had 42 and 11 assists in a loss tonight to the New York Knicks in overtime. One of the 4 games that did go final tonight, including Joel Embiid's return to the floor against the Detroit Pistons. They won that game by 18. Hornets won in Miami, and as we mentioned a moment ago, the Dallas Mavericks bounced back from their loss to San Antonio last night with a win over the Denver Nuggets thanks to a career night from Boban Marjanovic. Afterward, here's Dallas owner Mark Cuban on what has transpired tonight.
Okay, so we won the last game of the season, so we're officially champs. So I'll take your questions now.
How concerned are you about this whole situation?
Well, obviously very concerned, but it's not necessarily about basketball. Obviously, this is much bigger than basketball. I'm concerned about, will my kids have school or not? I'm concerned, are we all doing the right thing? Because this is obviously new territory. This is certainly a black swan event in my experiences. And so, basketball actually becomes secondary. But in terms of basketball, as I said earlier, nobody at the Dallas Mavericks is an expert on infectious diseases or their spread. And so this is not a situation where you fake it till you make it or try to sound or act important. The NBA has hired people with expertise in those areas, and they're working with people from the government and other expert areas, other people with expertise. And so we have to defer to them, and that's exactly what we'll do. And, if the NBA, effectively if one player, 2 players, whatever it is, already have it, we'll have to act accordingly, and I think the NBA made the right decision.
There's a Board of Governors meeting today, obviously. It was before all the info about Utah was out there. But it was reported, some owners, most of the owners were in favor of playing games without fans. Some of them were interested in completely postponing the season. Where did you fall on that issue?
I fall just in the exact place that I told you. I don't have the expertise at all, and I'm not in a position, when it's something this critical, when people's health and the safety of our fans and customers is at stake, I didn't have an opinion. And we said that effectively we'll go with what the NBA says because, I'm smart enough to know what I don't know, and I'll defer to those who do.
Mark, this evening on ESPN, you mentioned something about your concern for some of the employees, the part-time people that work here. Could you reiterate that?
Yeah. In talking to when some of the things were coming up that we might not play games, and this was yesterday, I reached out to the folks at the arena and our folks at the Mavs to find out, what it would cost to financially support people who aren't going to be able to come to work. They get paid by the hour, and this was their source of income. And so we'll do some things there. We may ask them to go do some volunteer work in exchange, but, we've already started the process of having a program in place. And I don't have any details to give, but it's certainly something that's important to me.
This has all transpired so rapidly. What are your feelings right now?
I mean, when I heard Michael Finley saw the announcement, and I was just stunned. I mean, it was just like, I have this saying, life is half random. And this is the random side where, it takes twists and turns. And this is something out of a movie. And you just don't expect it to happen in real life. But that's the randomness of the world we live in. And so it's stunning, but we are where we are. And we have to be smart in how we respond. Again, as I just said, this is people's lives at stake. This isn't about basketball. This isn't about the Mavericks. This isn't about, when do we start, or do we start, or how do we start? This is a pandemic, a global pandemic where people's lives are at stake. And I'm a lot more worried about my kids and my mom, who's 82 years old, and talking to her and telling her to stay in the house than I am about when we play our next game. Look, we have a lot of flexibility. I don't want to speak for Adam or the NBA, but in terms of the NBA basketball side of this, we have a lot of flexibility because there's nothing that happens after June 12th when we typically end our season. So, it's more important for us to get it right.
Did you have any concerns about playing in a packed house tonight?
No, I didn't really. I was actually shocked that we had so many people, to be honest. I was half expecting it to be half full. The good news is that you could tell by the screaming and yelling, it was a very young audience. And so that probably makes a lot of sense. But no, I didn't have any reason to believe that anybody put anybody else at risk. And we tried, last week we tried to be proactive. You saw we handed out all the Purells to everybody. So, that's not going to stop everything, but at least we can try to, take a little bit of action to try to minimize where we could.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, guys.
Anybody else?
All right, thanks, everybody. Thank you. We got JJ coming up, guys.
Oh, let me say one other thing, because I know it'll come up, and JJ, you can feel free to. In terms of what we told the players, we told them to be very vigilant, that this is not a situation where the season's ended, go do what you're going to do. We expect you to stay in Dallas, and the NBA told us that we'll continue to practice and do rehab and continue to do work. And I was very specific, as was coached, to say who you talk to is very important. If bringing people in from out of town because you have downtime, no, that's not going to work. That you have to be accountable to the people you're dealing with and who for your own personal safety and obviously for everybody else's. So this is not a vacation. This is effectively self-quarantining everybody because it's our responsibility to be vigilant, and the players are in a unique position because wherever they are, people want to come up to them. And we had told them when we thought we were going on the road to only eat in the hotel, not to go out to eat and only use room service. And we kind of reiterated that same thing after the game, that you have to be very, very vigilant and very careful because you are at risk. And, if you have family here, whether it's your children or your grandmother, you don't want to put them at risk. So be very, very careful and vigilant.
Where's your head at?
This is new. No, but I think it's a great decision by the NBA. I think they know what they're doing. I think it's better to be careful. Do it now rather than do it later. So, it's tough. It's different. For the young guys, it's a new thing. I've been in lockouts. It's kind of kind of saying hopefully this turns out positive, for everybody. So we'll see what happens.
At what point did you find out and what was going through your head?
Found out in the third quarter. So not much, just postpone, NBA postpone, and then I stayed, I knew I was going to get in the fourth, so I had to stay a little bit ready for the game. But now you start thinking about what are you going to do.
How are you able to focus on the game when there's this massive world event going on? You get the news that the season's suspended.
For us NBA players, this is it's like for us it comes natural. You get to the later part of the season, it's a routine. It's your job. You go out there, you got to play hard. I'm glad we were here at home. The fans were help out a little bit. Especially at home. So, but yeah, you just gotta. For me personally, I love the game. So I won't let nothing get me away from enjoying and having fun out there and trying to make my team win.
Did you have any concerns about playing in a packed arena?
No. I think I knew the fans were going to show up tonight. Yeah.
No, I mean, they canceled the game up in Oklahoma City, obviously, or postponed it. So, I mean, just no fears at all that something health-wise could go wrong?
You always got that little bit of fear, but you can control what you can control. I couldn't do anything else at the moment. Tonight, my job was to play basketball and then figure it out after.
As far as the game itself, could you talk about Boban's game?
Oh, Boban I've been saying it all year, man. He's a special guy. He works the hardest. He's always playing, trying to find people to play pickup basketball with in practices to stay ready for this kind of games. And it was a great matchup for him tonight. And I think Coach did the right thing starting him, and he gave us a W.
JJ,
awesome.
You and Courtney Lee are two of the older players on this team. How do you kind of lead the younger group, like you mentioned, kind of going into this period of transition, going with the coronavirus where you guys aren't going to play for a while?
Yeah, we've been through it before, different type of way. But yeah, just keep everybody ready. I think we're going to be able to practice, so we're going to have to stay sharp, stay positive, and keep reminding them, stay ready. The season's not over. It's going to come back. You never know when it's going to come back, so you gotta stay ready. But yeah, we definitely gotta do a good job for the young guys. Keep them then ready to go.
How's he been as a teammate throughout this season and throughout his time here with the Mavericks?
Courtney Lee?
Yeah, Courtney Lee.
Oh, he's been great, man. He's been great, having a great year. Stay positive. He stayed ready. He's a great locker room guy. Everybody likes him. He's funny. Plays hard when he's out there. He don't care about shots. He just want to play defense, play hard. He's a great teammate.
You mentioned this was somewhat like the lockout. After you guys won the championship, there was a lockout. You didn't know when you were going to come back. Is that kind of like your mentality? It's like, we don't know.
It's totally different. I'm talking about that when you're not playing basketball,
Right.
When the games are canceled, it's like, but yeah, this situation is totally different you never imagined this will happen, It's like one of those bad movies. So you never imagined this will happen, so we got to, be safe and learn from it and see what we could do.
It's around the NBA tonight as players and coaches and staff and fans try to reconcile what has happened. 2 games postponed tonight, and ultimately the NBA decided to suspend the season indefinitely while they come to terms with the coronavirus and its impacts on the league. No idea when the NBA might return to basketball. In the specific case of the Kings game tonight, Mark Medina of USA Today tweeted this in a statement. The league said the Pelicans-Kings game was canceled, quote, out of an abundance of caution because one of the referees, Courtney Kirkland, assigned to work in the game, also worked a Utah Jazz game earlier this week. And, of course, the connection is that Rudy Gobert, the Jazz All-Star center, is the lone player identified to have contracted COVID-19 so far. You see, there were 4 games played earlier tonight, but those games in Oklahoma City and then now in Sacramento were postponed, although the league did use the word canceled to describe the Pelicans-Kings game. That could have just been a careless or hurried word choice. We don't really know, but they did use the word canceled rather than postponed. But that's where things stand at this moment. In the meantime, coaches, players have been reacting to what's happened on this very odd Wednesday night, including Denver's Mike Malone after a loss in Dallas.
I know you guys are going to ask me the question, so I'll just get to it. I just found out about it regarding the league's decision to, I guess, pause the season. I guess Rudy Gobert had tested positive. That game was suspended right before tip-off. The Sacramento game was suspended due to Courtney Kirkland, I believe, reffing a Utah game recently. I don't know any details. I wish I could expound on that. I don't know what this means. I know instead of flying to San Antonio, we're going to fly home tonight. We support the league's decision, obviously being putting the players, the fans, the officials, the coaches, the staff's best interest at heart. And we have to try to get our minds wrapped around what this coronavirus is doing. And so we support their decision, and we'll wait to hear word from them as to what this means moving forward, because honest to God, I have no idea. And I just hope that we can figure this out and get back to playing basketball in a timely manner when it's deemed safe.
Mike Malone is in the same boat as the rest of us because no one really knows what happens next.
Nope, we don't, Matt. So we just have to sit back and wait, stay cool, and let the league. And obviously one thing we know about Adam Silver and his crew, they're going to do their due diligence, do the best they can, get the best doctors so we can get the best information. That's all we really want to get, stay cool, to get the right information, then we can follow suit.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard the phrase uncharted territory tossed around quite a bit before this all happened. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think it stands to reason that that's exactly where we are now as the NBA and the entire body of the league. I'm talking about, fans, players, teams, broadcast partners, everybody. I mean, the pause is for everyone to kind of figure out what you do next. And I think it mirrors what's going on outside of the league. I mean, if you got kids, you spent the last few days trying to find out what are the next steps for, for schools and local communities and what goes on there. And there hasn't been some concrete answer. Everybody has different theories on how to handle this. Everybody's talking to a different group of experts. Yeah. As 3D mentioned, though, you feel comfortable knowing that the leadership of the NBA is so strong that you don't have to worry about there being any wiggle room. They're going to come down with some very concrete, details about what should be done next and disseminate them in a timely fashion. Mm-hmm. I'm not as concerned about when we get back to basketball as some of these teams might be, because I know that the schedule that we're on now will allow for some buffer time on the back end, instead of, getting back to it maybe at a set date, that there's time in June. We can push the schedule back to a certain point, I would imagine, in June to accommodate whatever needs to get done.
There's so many considerations when it comes to the logistics. Obviously, at the beginning of each season, or well before the beginning of the season, each NBA team submits arena dates to the league so they can schedule around those. They've been asked reportedly to submit dates into July. That's a consideration because there are concerts and other events at most of these facilities. Mm-hmm. The broadcast partners have their dates set in stone, including the NBA Finals, which is laid out date by date by date, 1 through 7. All of that could change potentially. If they want to condense things, potentially, and I'm just spitballing here, potentially you're looking at a shorter playoffs or maybe fewer teams in the playoffs. I don't know. We don't know what any of this will look like at this point.
No, that's why I say it again, Matt, that we've seen our NBA handle so many different things. So that's why I have no doubt that Adam and his crew, as I like to call them, they'll figure this out. But to your point, Matt, we just have to do our due diligence, make sure we do all little things around our homes with our families, and make sure we can handle that stay cool and just wait and see what the league comes up with.
No doubt.
Well, the Hawks lost tonight against the New York Knicks. Vince Carter is 43. He has seen a lot in his 2 decades plus in the NBA. But like the rest of us, he has not seen this. And here was his reaction after the game.
At first, I didn't want to hear it. I was just like, just let me go back to the locker room. I was like, we still have some more games to play at. 1 to 2 weeks is here, but you never know. So I was just like, hey, whatever. Coach was like, he gave me that look, and I was like, you know what the heck, let's go do it. So I'm glad I did. It's just fun. It's like I say, if it ended today, and this day, this end of the season, these last 16 games will be talked about for a very long time. And that's something I'll always remember. At least I scored my last basket, and it'll be a weird but cool memory.
Is this moment surreal for you? Like, just looking back at playing from college to today, to have it end like this?
Yeah, it is. It's a weird way to say I'm calling it a career. It really is. I mean, you're used to, you don't have any more games left. Instead, I technically have what I would consider eligibility. I have 15 games left, technically. But if not, I'm one with it, and it's just like I say, it's just weird. As we were kind of being briefed on everything, what's going on, what you guys have been seeing all the second half. I just sit there and like, it's just, all right, this is it, like that. It ended like that, So probably tonight I was reflecting like, golly, it's just weird. I didn't foresee, I went from the hesitation of starting the season and going through the season to not really saying the word retirement to, having a conversation with Kobe gave me the confidence and comfort to talk about retirement to this point where the season's over when in my mind I know there's 15 games left, but we're not sure yet. So it's cool though. It's basketball has been good to me. I've enjoyed each and every moment of it, good and bad. So if this is it, it's all good. At least I made my last basket.
You seem to be telling yourself in your head, at least trying to say, there's going to be some games left. Can't quite accept that.
Yeah, it's just like I said. It's like it literally just happened, and you're trying to process all of this. So, like I said, if it is, I'm okay with it. It's just weird how it ends, how it ended. You have that when it's the last game. You have that drive here. It's like, well, this is the last one. I didn't have that thought, that drive today. It's just kind of like it's possible because of everything else that's transpired. The NCAA, blah blah blah, other Golden State with no fanless game.